I think there's a lot of hype, and as I've said throughout, even when the polls were wildly positive for us, that these public polls are all over the place. And the reality of the race on the ground is that we're ahead. It's a little bit narrower than it was before the last debate, but we feel good about where we are, and we've got a great ground game going. We expect Governor Romney will have a great debate, too. He's a great salesman. That's what he did as a professional, and he's very, very good at it.
Hey, welcome back to Morning Joe with a live shot of Washington. Let's bring in, from Washington, NBC News chief White House political correspondent and political director and host of the Daily Rundown, Chuck Todd. And Chuck, David Axelrod, really, he's got it nailed. These public polls are all over the place. Privately, both sides are saying that things are narrowing. Obviously, 2 debates over the next week. It's got to be the most important week of the campaign before the final run. What does President Obama have to do to change the narrative, to stop the bleeding, even if the bleeding is down to a trickle now?
Yeah, well, it's called winning a debate. This is the most important debate since the last debate, and it's the most important debate till the next debate, right? No.
Wow. Okay, so
how about that? No.
Yeah, that's something.
I do think this debate is Mitt Romney's biggest problem, right? What's the thing that's keeping him from closing the sale? Likability, personal comfort. He may not be one of us, but does he understand us? Well, of all the 3 debates, what's the one where you interact with real people, this town hall debate? So, for Romney, this is the debate where he could win this election. He could blow up the stereotype that he, can't interact with people, doesn't have that sort of Bill Clinton gene in him where he knows that exactly the right time to put an arm around somebody, exactly the right time to connect with somebody. And that's why it is, it's more than just the president having to win this debate to stop the bleeding, to change things. But this is the moment. The first debate was Romney getting into the playoffs. This is the debate where he could almost close it out if it's such a good performance because of the format, right? And because it would help him in this one area where he's got the biggest deficit, connecting with the average American.
And boy, if you're the incumbent president and you're in this type of format and you're George H.W. Bush and you look down at your watch, it's even worse with all of these Americans around you watching, makes you seem more disconnected. It seems to me the president has a big challenge, a very big challenge, seen as a guy that's been detached, emotionally withdrawn. If he doesn't turn in a good performance with Americans there at this town hall style meeting, that seems to me that it's more than just the biggest debate until the next debate.
I agree.
This could be a real problem.
And I know I think we're both being very hesitant to hype this like that,
right.
But I feel like this one is that big. And because, there's something that happened in the campaign. It wasn't just that Romney got into with that first debate and it sort of, at first you heard Democrats saying, oh, Republicans are just coming home. And that's what tightened the polls. And in fact, I actually heard some Republicans say that. I have to say, in the private data that I've heard about over the last couple of days, the last 72 hours, plus what you're seeing, I feel like there has been a structural shift. We're no longer in this. It's even but the president has these advantages. But the president has these advantages in the battleground states, I think, is gone. I mean, yes, the president has an advantage in Ohio, but we're starting to see a consistent Romney, very narrow, but a Romney lead in places like Florida. We're seeing Colorado totally dead even, Iowa closing. So I think that there is something structural that happened, and that's why this debate, critical time. If the president doesn't show up, he could end up in a deficit that I don't know if one more debate could make it up.
Hey, Chuck, there has been all sorts of stories spun by the Obama people out of the White House that this time the president is really focusing on the debate. This time he's really serious about the debate prep. He's really doing his homework. So given that, and if he indeed is focusing on his homework with regard to the debate, what are the odds that the president comes right out of the box and demands some specifics from Governor Romney about his economic plan, principally for people like living in Ohio and the rest of the United States? There's been very little specifics on both sides, but especially on the Romney side.
Well, this is a harder format for him to do that, right? That's the tricky nature of the town hall, right? He can't just come out of the box and do what he fully wants. It's one thing to ignore a moderator question. It's another thing to ignore the question from somebody you don't know, from somebody that's not there. And so you have to be careful there. So, look, I think the president's going to pick and choose the three or four areas that focus group best with Biden versus Ryan, right? I think you're going to hear him talk a lot. I think he's going to figure out a way to get contraception and an abortion.
Yes.
And I think that was clearly Paul Ryan's weakest moment, where Biden's probably one of his strongest moments. They're going to try to get at this. What I've been curious about is I do think they're still conflicted. Do they attack Romney as a flip-flopper or as a conservative hiding in moderate clothing? And I think that, there is a difference in trying to attack somebody this way. And I think that there's still, you read their sort of debate pre-spin today, there still seem to be not sure which is the better avenue to go. I think they're going with he's the conservative hiding in moderate clothing. But that I think is not fully litigated.
John, you're nodding your head, yes.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get the way they were winning this race for months was by portraying Governor Romney as a conservative and moderate's closer, just as a conservative straightforwardly, that his positions on issues that matter to swing voters are too extreme. They're too far outside the mainstream. They're just a replay of the Bush positions and of the positions of congressional Republicans that are not that popular in the middle of the electorate. They need to try to get back there, and flip-flopper is not the way to get back there. They got to figure out some way to pin him back into being conservative, and that conservative and moderate's close. That this is what the liar argument is about. It's not he's dishonest. It's the way in which he's being dishonest is he's lying about what he really is, and what he really is someone who you can't trust, and someone who is, in fact, much more conservative than his new positioning, his Etch-a-Sketch Mitt Romney image is.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Chuck. We'll see you, as always, on the Daily Rundown right after Morning Joe. Who are you going to be talking to?
Yeah, brother. We got Mr. Talent, Jim Talent for the Romney campaign, Kasim Reed for the Obama campaign. Plus, I got some fun little, really geeked out data stuff from our NBC Wall Street Journal poll and the exit poll, even weighing it to the exit poll, so you get a real sense of just where is Obama eroded, where is strengths, where is Romney's strengths. Good stuff, but it's in the weeds, I'll admit it.
I love it. I love it. Well, now's the time to get in the weeds if that's going to happen. Nerds like us, love it.
That's right.
Hey, let me ask you really quickly. You got Jim Talent coming on, obviously former Missouri senator. A lot of people had wanted him to jump in the race and get Aiken out. What's the state of that Aiken-McCaskill race right now?
McCaskill has a lead, but not insurmountable. There seems to be. I think Aiken. The problem for Aiken is money and resources, and they're not all there. She's only just now litigating the tough stuff. She's had a week of the really harsh ad up against Aiken, having other Republicans say the name. So let's see. But it seems that she still has struggled to crack 50. Yeah. She's been ahead, but she's struggled to crack 50, sitting right at 48, 49. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound familiar, but I'll tell you what, we Republicans will, in the end, do what it takes to keep races we should run away with very close. I still don't see the National Party coming in to help Aiken out.
I don't think so either.
I think it hurts Republicans across the nation if that happens.
Do you really want Todd Aiken as being the guy that put Republicans in the majority? Do you want to have that? Remember 1994? Republicans won without Ollie North. How important was that to them? I always thought that was huge.
Yeah, well, you also have the Republican Senatorial Committee looking at places they don't usually look at. The possibility of picking up in Maine, the possibility of picking up in Connecticut. If they can do that, those are two huge victories. So
NRSC Raw, baby.
All right, baby.
Monday Night Raw.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Okay. Coming up next, we've got the Washington Post, Dan Baltz. He says this week might be the most important of this presidential election. We'll talk to Dan when we return on Morning Joe.